It started with a missing girl. At first, no one cared. Another lost little white girl in a world where black and brown bodies vanished into silence. But this wasn't just any girl. This was Rebecca. And she wasn't lost. She had been taken. And the man who took her had no idea what he had just unleashed. Raymond Carter ran his operation in the shadows. No witnesses. No trails. No loose ends. His victims? They weren't supposed to matter. Forgotten souls, lost before he even touched them. He had perfected his system, until her. Rebecca was supposed to be just another ghost, another nameless body swallowed by the abyss. But she wasn't like the others. The first night he expected tears, screaming, the usual begging. But Rebecca sat in that dark room, her blonde hair matted, her lips split from a struggle that barely left a mark on her spirit. She didn't cry, didn't scream, didn't plead. She just watched him, unblinking, calculating. And Raymond Carter, a man who had broken hundreds, felt something he hadn't in years. Unease. Days passed, then weeks. He starved her, beat her, left her in darkness. Still, she never cracked. She just waited. One night, the compound's power failed. The halls, usually buzzing with dim industrial lighting, were swallowed by something deeper than darkness. A pressure filled the air. Something thick. Something wrong. Raymond cursed, gripping his gun as he moved toward the breaker room. His men were missing. No voices. No footsteps. Just silence. Then, from the blackness, came a whisper. "You took the wrong girl, Ray." A laugh. Soft, distant. Then right behind him. He spun, his flashlight flickering. The darkness around him seemed to breathe. Move. And then, footsteps. Slow. Measured. Coming toward him. His throat tightened as Rebecca stepped into the dying light. But it wasn't Rebecca. Not the girl he had stolen. Her skin was sickly pale, almost translucent, her blue eyes darker now, endless pits. And her smile, God, her smile was something inhuman, stretching too wide, revealing teeth too sharp. "You take girls," she whispered. "But did you ever wonder where they go when they die?" Raymond raised his gun. Too late. Rebecca moved faster than anything that should exist. His breath caught as her cold fingers wrapped around his throat. Her nails dug deep, ice burrowing under his flesh. He choked, struggled, and then he saw them. The other girls. Twisted, broken, watching from the shadows with hollow, blackened eyes. Dozens of them. Hundreds. "You thought they disappeared," Rebecca murmured. "No, Ray. You made them. And now they've made me." The walls trembled. The air thickened with whispers, hands reaching, pulling, hungry. Raymond screamed as the darkness swallowed him whole. Then the lights flickered back on. And Raymond Carter was never seen again. Raymond Carter was gone. His men searched every inch of the compound. His office, his chambers, the cold, blood-stained rooms where his victims had whispered their last prayers. There was no trace of him. Just the silence, the kind that stretched, crept, and choked like unseen fingers around a throat. And Rebecca? She was still there. Sitting in the very room she had been locked in, hands folded neatly in her lap, a small, knowing smile playing on her lips. They asked her where he went. She didn't answer. She just tilted her head, eyes darker now, almost bottomless, and whispered, "He's still here." It started with the shadows. Raymond's men, hardened criminals who had seen and done unspeakable things, began whispering about shapes moving in the dark. They saw things slithering just beyond the edges of their vision. A breath on their neck when no one was behind them. The creak of unseen footsteps pacing outside their doors at night. Then came the voices. Soft at first, like an echo in an empty room. Then clearer. Familiar. Raymond's voice. It called to them, crooning their names, promising them the same fate. One by one, they broke. Some ran, only to be found days later, their bodies twisted in ways that bones weren't meant to bend. Others turned their guns on themselves, eyes wide, lips frozen in silent screams. And some simply disappeared, swallowed by the compound itself, as if the walls had grown hungry. Rebecca remained, unharmed, unbothered, and when the last man left standing, Jared, Raymond's right hand, stood before her, sweating, shaking, gun trembling in his grip, she finally spoke. "Do you want to see him?" she asked softly. Jared's lips parted. He didn't know what to say, didn't even know if he could still speak. His entire world had unraveled in a matter of days. He had seen men gutted, skinned, burned alive. But nothing had ever felt like this. Rebecca stood, slow and deliberate, and stepped closer. The air around her warped, pulsed with something unseen. The temperature dropped, his breath turning to mist. And then she placed her hand on his chest. The room cracked open. Jared saw Raymond. But it wasn't Raymond. Not anymore. He was sprawled on the floor of some impossible place, twisted and writhing, his mouth stretched in a silent wail, eyes bulging with terror. Shadowy hands pulled at him, yanking him deeper into the writhing black. Faces flickered in and out of the darkness. Girls, so many girls, their mouths split into wide, jagged grins. They weren't human anymore. They were something else now. Something ancient. Something vengeful. Raymond reached out, his fingers clawing the void, his lips trembling. Jared could barely hear the whisper that crawled from his throat. A plea. A warning. Run. Then the hands yanked him under, his body dissolving into the abyss. Jared's vision snapped back. He was in the room again, gasping, falling to his knees, his heart nearly exploding in his chest. Rebecca crouched beside him, her head tilting like she was studying a curious insect. "They're still hungry," she murmured. "But don't worry." She leaned in, her lips brushing his ear. "They'll feed soon." The lights flickered. The walls groaned. And from the shadows, the whispers began to rise. Jared ran. He didn't know where he was going, only that he needed to get as far away from that place, from her as possible. But no matter how fast he moved, no matter how many doors he slammed behind him, the whispers followed. The hallways stretched longer than they should. The exits that had always been there were gone, replaced with endless corridors and impossible turns. He could feel the air thickening, pressing against his skin like unseen fingers. Then the laughter started. Not Rebecca's. No, this was something older, something cruel, something that had been waiting in the dark for far too long. A door up ahead. Red. Slightly ajar. Jared had no choice. He burst through it. And fell. He landed hard, but the pain barely registered. He was in another room now, but it wasn't like any part of the compound he recognized. The walls pulsed as if breathing, the shadows creeping and curling like living things. And in the center of the room, a figure waited. Raymond, or what was left of him. His body twitched, suspended in the air by unseen hands, his limbs bending at impossible angles. His eyes, wide and glassy, locked onto Jared, lips moving in silent terror. Then the voices returned, surrounding them both. Low, hungry. Rebecca stepped forward from the darkness, her eyes gleaming like polished stone. "You should have run faster," she whispered. Jared scrambled back, his breath ragged. "What the hell are you?" Rebecca only smiled. And behind her, the shadows took shape, dozens of figures, the lost girls, their faces twisted into something inhuman. Their hands stretched toward him, fingers lengthening, curling, reaching. He screamed. The feast. Jared clawed at the ground, but the floor beneath him softened, turning to something thick and wet. The hands reached him first, cold and pulsing with the rage of the forgotten. They dragged him back, deeper, deeper. And as the darkness swallowed him whole, Rebecca tilted her head, watching. The last of them was gone. The compound, once filled with monsters who had preyed on the helpless, was now silent. The whispers faded. The lost had been avenged. And Rebecca? She turned, stepping through the red door once more, disappearing into the night. Jared's screams faded into the void, swallowed by the same darkness that had claimed Raymond and the others. The compound stood silent, the walls no longer pulsing, the air no longer thick with whispers. The lost had taken their revenge, and the debt had been paid in full. Rebecca stood in the center of it all, unmoving. The shadows, the hungry things that had waited for so long, slowly peeled away, retreating into the unseen corners of the world. The red door, her door remained open, beckoning her forward. She stepped through. And just like that, she was gone. Days later, the police arrived. They found the compound abandoned. No bodies, no signs of struggle, just an eerie emptiness, as if the place itself had been hollowed out. The only thing left behind was a single chair in the center of a blood-stained floor. And on the wall behind it, scratched deep into the wood, were 3 words. Not finished yet. The case was closed. No suspects. No explanations. Just another ghost story lost in the wind. But somewhere, beyond the reach of law and reason, Rebecca walked. She was no longer a victim. No longer the girl that men underestimated, mistreated, and discarded. She was something else now. Something worse. And she was still hungry. The house was